Tom sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel with a mixture of anticipation and excitement. His heart raced as he glanced at the bouquet of red roses on the passenger seat. Tonight would be perfect. He had planned everything down to the finest detail. After 10 years of marriage, Tom wanted to remind Sarah how much she meant to him. Life had gotten busy with work, bills, and the general humdrum of routine. But tonight, on the eve of their anniversary, Tom wanted to reignite the spark that had once burned so brightly between them. He smiled, thinking back to their wedding day. Sarah, in her flowing white gown, had been the epitome of beauty. They were young, madly in love, and believed nothing could ever come between them. Tom had been wrong. Over the years, their conversations had dwindled, their dates had become rare, and intimacy had almost vanished. But Tom was determined to change that. This surprise weekend getaway would be the perfect way to remind Sarah of their love. As he pulled into the driveway, Tom's excitement grew. He pictured Sarah's surprised face when he revealed the tickets to the secluded beach resort he had booked. But as he approached the door, he noticed something odd. Sarah's car was in the driveway, but the lights inside the house were dimmed. He hesitated for a moment, then quietly unlocked the front door. The house was unusually silent. Tom moved through the hallway, his footsteps barely making a sound. As he approached the living room, he heard a faint voice. Sarah was talking to someone. His heart sank. The tone of her voice was soft, almost affectionate, but there was a tension in her words that made him pause. Curiosity got the better of him, and instead of announcing his presence, he listened. "Jake, I can't keep doing this," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. He's a good man, but I don't feel anything anymore. When I'm with you, it feels alive." Tom's stomach turned. The name Jake echoed in his mind like a hammer striking an anvil. Who was Jake? What did she mean by alive? He felt the air in the room grow heavier, suffocating him. He took a step back, accidentally bumping into a side table. The sound of a vase toppling over filled the silence. "Tom?" Sarah called out, her voice tinged with panic. He didn't respond immediately. His heart was racing, his mind scrambling to process what he had just heard. Slowly, Tom stepped into the living room, his eyes locking onto Sarah's. She was sitting on the couch, her phone still in her hand. Her face paled as she saw him standing there, roses in one hand and a small envelope in the other. "Who's Jake?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt foreign in his mouth, as though he was speaking in a language he didn't understand. Sarah's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. But there was none. She had been caught, and they both knew it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was deafening, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. "Tom, I can explain," Sarah stammered, standing up. But as she stepped toward him, he took a step back. "Explain what?" Tom's voice cracked, the betrayal cutting deep. "Explain why you're talking to another man about our marriage. Explain why you're saying you don't feel anything anymore." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but Tom wasn't moved. Not this time. He had spent years overlooking the small changes, the distant looks, the missed dinners, the nights she came home late from work. And now, it all made sense. It had been Jake, whoever he was, this whole time. "How long?" Tom asked, his voice cold. "How long have you been seeing him?" 6 months, Sarah whispered, barely able to meet his gaze. 6 months, half a year. The words hit Tom like a punch to the gut. For 6 months, while he had been trying to keep their marriage afloat, she had been turning to someone else. He felt sick, his stomach churning with anger, pain, and disbelief. "Why?" The word hung in the air, desperate and broken. Why, Sarah? We were happy. I thought we were happy. Sarah wiped her eyes, but the tears kept falling. I don't know, Tom. I love you, but somewhere along the way, I lost myself. With Jake, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Tom shook his head, unable to comprehend her words. What about me? What about us? 10 years, Sarah. We've been through so much together. How could you throw it all away for some fling? It's not just a fling, Sarah replied softly, her voice barely audible. I didn't plan for this to happen. It just did. Tom stood there, the room spinning around him. The roses in his hand felt heavy, meaningless now. The envelope with the resort tickets crumpled in his grip. The woman he had loved for a decade, the woman he had built his life with, was slipping away from him. And there was nothing he could do. Do you love him? Tom's voice broke again, the final question that would either shatter his world or give him some sliver of hope. Sarah hesitated. Her silence was answer enough. Tom turned away, his heart aching with the weight of a betrayal he never saw coming. He walked out of the room, leaving the roses and the crumpled envelope on the floor. As he stepped out into the night, the cool air hit his face, but it did little to soothe the burning pain in his chest. He got into his car and drove, not knowing where he was going, only that he needed to escape. His mind was a whirlwind of memories. Their wedding day, the honeymoon, the house they bought together, the quiet moments they shared. All of it felt like a lie now. A beautiful lie that had come crashing down in a single moment. The story of Tom and Sarah is not just about infidelity. It's about the slow erosion of a relationship. Betrayal often doesn't come suddenly. It creeps in through small cracks that go unnoticed until it's too late. Tom had been blind to the signs, but in reality, many of us choose not to see what we don't want to believe. This story teaches us the importance of communication, of recognizing when something is wrong before it spirals out of control. Relationships take effort, and when one person feels neglected or lost, it can lead to choices that cause irreparable damage. Tom's heartbreak is a reminder that love, while beautiful, can be fragile. It's easy to become complacent in a relationship, assuming that the bond you once had will last forever without effort. But love requires nurturing, attention, and most importantly, honesty. In the end, the question is not just about why Sarah betrayed Tom, but about what they both could have done to prevent the distance between them from growing.